If you wouldn't mind sharing some insights from what we call the post-podcast section. We've already had a prep call with the podcast guest. We've gone through an entire recording. We've gone over an outline of everything in advance that they want to talk about. And now we have some time at the end of the recording session, which we call the post-podcast area. And this is a linchpin to, if it was a client that was on the podcast, into a video case study. If it was somebody that was in the pipeline, a prospect in the pipeline, to gaining some insights into what they're looking for. If it was a prospect that we wanted to open the door, we'd never had a conversation with them before, getting that transition from podcast guest to a conversation with somebody, meaningful conversation internally. There's tremendous benefits from this post-podcast section.
Let me touch on first the customer aspect. So in today's world, everybody's after those video snippets, more video, more interactive, more engaging content. It can't be long, and it's got to be something really relevant about their experience. Well, at the tail end of a podcast, or the post-podcast portion of the session, they're all warmed up, they've been talking, they've been interviewed, they're comfortable, the mic is good, they're all happy with the sound of their own voice, they've gotten over all those things. And then they're in a much better position to give you those little mini case study anecdotes. Like, hey, this software vendor has been so good to us because, or they've been a joy to work with because. You can literally go through and knock down, let's say, all the objections you might be encountering on the front end of a sales cycle, and have this happy customer who's just had a wonderful experience sharing their insight and their thought leadership, and knock down all of those obstacles for you. So that's the customer taking on the voice and being the messenger for, oh yeah, those things that might be objections or obstacles in a sales cycle. No, don't worry about them. They're actually great. So that's phenomenal. On the prospect side of things, it's similarly interesting. It's hard for sales to go and ask this question, which the question would be, how should we approach you next time? And that's a hard one because they don't want to tell you that. They will tell someone at the tail end of a podcast, the post-podcast interview, in more casual conversation, yeah, it'd be really helpful if they came to us with X or Y, or maybe it's a different value proposition. It's geared towards more ROI or employee retention, whatever, but the inside baseball kind of scoop on how to approach them next time. Very powerful at helping the sales team target their approach and their messaging the next time they're going after that prospect. From the net new ones, say the ones that sales haven't been in contact with before, it's an opportunity to get in their heads a little bit and understand what are those challenges and opportunities they're facing to help sales inform what is the best way to position initially with them. The other thing it does is create a level of familiarity and, dare I say, trust with the software vendor. So not just how to approach them, but you've also opened the door a little bit to these people that might not have been responsive before, to all of a sudden you have familiarity and a level of trust that you didn't have before. The post-podcast interview component not only tells you how to position with them, how to approach them, but it's opened the door for you to more easily approach them, that you can now get their attention because they've already had an interaction with you indirectly. It opens the door to a conversation where the door was closed before.